back to another edition of wakeintheworld.ca. Today we're going to be talking about the physical world and the fact that our physical world is really nothing more than a monument, an edifice to old ways of thinking and old ways of communicating and old ways of being. So let's dive right into this. There's a great spiritual truth that's talked about over and over again. It's found in such phrases as what you resist persists, and that which you fight only grows stronger. It's the idea that pushing up against anything is not really a good idea. And, I asked my wife directly today. I said, Kelly, what does this mean? What does it mean that what you resist persists? And she came up with a few ideas, all outside of her head, but she had failed to grasp the deeper significance as to why that is true. And I'm going to share that with you today. So the reason why that phrase is true is this. Everything you see, everything, it doesn't matter whether it's man-made or not, is the result of past thought, word, and deed, past creative intention, whether it's from the universe or from us, and exists as a remnant of that in the world today. The physical object is the leftover. It is the final manifestation, which happens long after the thought began. In the spiritual realm, after death, you find that your thoughts are creative immediately. Whatever you think, whoever you think of, whatever you think to desire, instantly manifests itself. In the physical realm, for the vast majority of people, the manifestations take a period of time. And this is what we're seeing. So let's say you have, when we moved into our condo here that we were previously renting out, my wife was beside herself. The place was a disaster. They had left a dog locked up in one of the rooms for 10 hours a day. It had gone right through the subfloor. And it was just a miserable mess. And I grabbed her by the shoulders and I said, honey, it's okay. What you're seeing now is the monuments, the leftover edifices to the way that the renters thought, the way that the renters spoke, and the way that the renters acted. Our intentions are all designed around those three principles. First, we have the creative thought. We follow that creative thought with more creative thoughts spoken out into the physical world, and we call them words. And then we follow those up with actions in alignment with our thoughts and words. And we do so, our ability to create grows stronger and stronger and stronger. So that's what I said to her. I said, all this mess, everything that you see here before you is simply the leftover remnants. It actually doesn't even exist anymore. It's already falling apart. And sure enough, it was. That is the truth of everything we see in the physical world. And that doesn't matter whether it's a organization, a president, something that's happening that we don't agree with, a piece of clothing, a car, it doesn't matter. It's all actually old news. That is why fighting up against something that already exists is foolishness. The time to fight up against it is way back when it was at the thought level. And the way to do that is to awaken a society. Trying to wake somebody up after they've already had all the thoughts and all the words and all the deeds pointed to something, and then they manifest, let's say they manifest an organization that has narrow-minded views on gays or any other subject you want to pick. And you're going to fight up against that organization when it exists. What you're going to do is you're going to entrench that organization even more. And there's a reason that happens as well. So the organization needed to be fought, if you must fight, way back at the level of thought, sometime in the past, where the thinking of that person was afflicted to the degree that they began to form thoughts and followed by in speaking with others and then deeds that all led to this place. So Trump is an example. The bottom line is Trump is an example of everything that came before Trump. Once Trump's in office, fighting that he's in office isn't really doing a lot, and we see that all the time. The reality is this: whatever you don't wish to have anymore, take your attention off of it. Stop paying attention to it. Everything you see is an edifice to past attention, past consciousness. It is falling apart all by itself. The only way it can continue to exist is if you continue to put consciousness into it. If you continue to put awareness on it, it continues to live. Now, this is the same as your house. As long as you continue to put conscious awareness into your house, you notice that the paint is chipping, so you fix it up. You notice that there's an issue here, and you repair this. You fix that. You garden. You do whatever you can to make the house safe, secure, and up to code, and okay to live in. But the moment you take your attention off that place, literally in that moment, it slowly begins to decay, and you don't even really notice that it's happening at first. Of course, as things speed up over time, it becomes very apparent in the rundown, shabby, boarded up house at the end of the street that no one lives in anymore. Now, this is perhaps one of the most important details. When we fight up against the things that we do not choose anymore, we continue them, we give them new life. We expand and grow their influence. We cause them to live longer than they normally would. By taking our attention off of things, we allow the natural life process of entropy to take place. Now, we're going to go back to the Big Bang here for a minute. You know, what does a Big Bang have to do with anything that I create? It has to do a lot with it. At the time of the Big Bang, the total sum of energy in the universe is the same amount of energy that exists in the universe today. That energy cannot be added to nor taken away from. It can only be extracted for use, transmuted, and transformed, but it is neither destroyed nor created. Anything that we take our attention off of, there's a natural process where as soon as the universe realizes our attention has come off of it, it begins to decay. That energy begins to return back to the whole, to be reprocessed, reused in a beautiful natural cycle. We, of course, take our attention off things for long periods of times, and then all of a sudden our attention comes back onto it, and we look and we say, well, it's fallen apart. Now, we use the example of a house. We can do the same thing with a relationship. If you're in a relationship, and when you first got together, you gave each other lots of attention. You were young and in love and enamored with each other, and perhaps you both desired each other sexually, and you had lots of fun, flirtatious nights and beautiful summer evenings out in the park and walks on the beach. And then you decide to get married or decide to start living together, and the realities of life start to kick in, and your attention, your focus comes off of what is important, your relationships with others, and instead begins to move even further outside of yourself into your job, into those forms and roles that you take on that you identify with. So, 10 years go by, and you wake up one day and you realize that you've been cheating on your partner's been cheating on you. You really don't know what their likes are anymore, or their dislikes, because you simply haven't communicated in years, and you come to the conclusion that this relationship has been over for a long time. What happened? Was the relationship necessarily a bad relationship? Not at all. It could have been a great relationship. The issue is both people took their attention off of it. And when your conscious awareness comes off of anything, it begins to fall apart as a natural part of the process. So, in a nutshell, let's just review really quick. Everything you see around you, from the car in your yard, to the food in your fridge, to the clothes on your back, everything is subject to the natural law that when conscious awareness is removed from it, it begins to fall apart. This we can see even in a tree. A tree has conscious awareness. And when a tree reaches a certain point in its death, you can literally sense there's no more life or consciousness there. And then the tree will begin to rot and fall apart quite quickly. Everything around us does the same that we create. It just takes a little longer in some cases. The same goes with what we choose to fight up against. We need to stop doing that. It is a form of insanity to fight up against something that already exists. The reason being is, even though it exists, it is only a monument. It isn't the thing that needed to be fought up against. That which needed to be dealt with is way back in the past when the thoughts began. So that's a little insight on that spiritual truth, and I hope you've enjoyed this edition of awakentheworld.ca. We invite your questions and comments, and I look forward to our next video where I'm finally going to give up the goods and give a little story about some of the things that's happened in my life and how I got to where I am today. Have a wonderful day.